This is really tough at the moment in town, but David Clark is riding pretty hard with Russell Downing at the front, and you think if these two came to the finish, Russ Downing would, you put your money on him because of the better sprinter. But you've got to remember that David Clark is without a sponsor. He's got to get the best result he can out of a race, and that's why he's working so hard with Russell Downing in the front.
I do find it a bit of a shame that David Clark isn't in one of these sponsored teams. He rode last year for Team Nippo. This year he's ridden on his own for the whole of the season, and the British cycling scene is improving all the time. Lots more sponsors, but this man, he's up there, he's gritty, he competes every single week, and he's doing it totally alone.
Well, I think Wilkinson again has come down this slight descent a bit quicker than the others, and he's upsetting a wee bit more of the rhythm. The rhythm is in the front of this race. You've got Russell Downing at the front here on his Cannondale, and you've also got David Clark. The two of them are working very well in tandem, but it's not over yet. I think most of the races have got about 20 riders within about a minute of each other still in this late part of the race.
Well, it's interesting to remember that Chris Newton, the series leader, is not here, but one man who is completely missing, we've been mentioning Richard Wilkinson the whole time, but Ian Wilkinson is certainly missing for Science and Sport, as this man somehow finds some more energy. Richard Wilkinson trying now to drag his leader back up to these two riders. David Clark again on the front, the smaller, punchier rider Russell Downing in his wake. But Wilkinson has to do this, Brian, doesn't he?
Well, he has to, because the rider in the centre of the picture in the black there is Dean Downing. He's a potential race winner, and so is this man at the front, Gordon McCauley. We've seen him up here so many times before in the Premier Calendar Series, and look at the effort he's making at the front. But 4 against 2, surely these 4 can work well together, to try and eat into the advantage of the two in front. But it just goes to show you, the strength is in the front tandem.
Well, certainly think that Gordon McCauley wins the competition for 2007 for who can pull the grittiest faces out here in this British Premier calendar. He certainly puts the effort in. Russell Downing has got rid of those sunglasses, and he is now setting a very fast pace. These two guys working very strongly together now. They know that they are fully committed, and the gap looks like it's starting to grow again.
It certainly does, Anthony, and you think the rider in the blue jersey here, David Clark, would sit on Russ a wee bit more and save his energies, because as we come into Richmond, there is a bit of a climb up to the finish, and maybe he could use his climbing proness to try and put an advantage into Russell. But he's thinking of trying to get the best result he can. But these riders behind are still within striking distance.
Look at this, Russell Downing swings across the left hand side of the picture. He has a little look around. That's a show of experience from Russell Downing, as he just checks the time gap and wonders how much more effort he's got to put in to win this race. Now Dean Downing's recovered a little bit.
He certainly is. Russ Downing was looking back there to see, because he wants to know, coming into the last few miles of this race, he wants to know what his tactics are going to be to try and win this race.
It's interesting, this Ploughman Craven racing team, they had 9 riders start this race, and McCauley again completely isolated.
Just goes to show you that it's not about numbers, it's about strength in the team, and maybe the team is lacking a wee bit in strength. But I just saw a glimpse of some riders behind this group, and as they were panning back here, there's still 2 or 3 riders in this gap.
So they can't let up at all. The big man from the Rafa Condor, Richard Wilkinson. Sharman, a bit more punchy style. McCauley goes over that cattle grid. He is still looking to be towed back up here to the lead. Sharman was looking a little bit in difficulty early on, but he's a tough competitor, and he looks now like he's got a bit more zip in those legs.
Yeah, you said the same thing about McCauley and the team of PCA, but the same could be said about Sharman with the KFS. These riders, it's the same riders pretty much every week we see in the front of these Premier Calendar races, and they are on their own.
Russell Downing swings round this right-hand corner. We've got closed roads on the way into Richmond now, as David Clark goes to the front again to put a bit more pace in. Now this run-in, they've been across the really bleak, difficult roads around the Catterick Garrison, around the Yorkshire Moors. As Russell Downing goes on the right-hand side, we're inside 5 kilometres to go, and Downing's decided to get rid of David Clark.
Yeah, he certainly realised David Clark was working really hard with him, and just at the time when went up that wee drag there, and Russell decided he doesn't want to wait for a sprint, he doesn't want to take any chances, he wants to try and win this race on his own.
Well, the legs on these guys will be very tired and extremely cold, as we've mentioned already. It's 7 degrees centigrade. The rain has added to the cold and the chill that they'll feel. But can Clark now just tow himself back up to Russell Downing?
Well, from the pictures we've seen, it looks as if Russell can round this roundabout. You know, just hope everybody gets round here pretty safe, because the conditions will make it very, very slippy. But Russell Downing seems to me to be the strongest rider. Dave Clark, as he takes a glance to the left there, he'll be thinking if he can stay away to the finish and try and take second.
Full gas now from Russell Downing. You can see the difference in the style here. Brian, it's always a telltale sign when a rider's shoulders are rocking like that as to how tired they are.
Well, it certainly is, but I think everybody's tired. It's not been easy, this, and he looks around again. He's getting really worried about trying to finish second here. He's not thinking about catching Russell Downing, because I think he realises that Russell Downing is the strongest rider in this race.
Well, they go whistling down this descent now, and then they set themselves up for a difficult and tricky run into the centre of Richmond, and then a climb up to the finish line with a roundabout just before the finish as well. But Downing is fully committed, full gas. He's on a motorbike now as he heads towards the finish.
Yeah, he's flying down into Richmond now, and he's in the last couple of miles of this race, and it looks as if he's going to be a worthy winner. But you know, what's going to happen to David Clark? Is he going to get second? Is he going to get caught with the riders behind? That's what's going through this man's head at the moment in time.
David Clark digging deep. He doesn't want to look round at this moment. He doesn't want to see where these other riders. He just wants to try and maintain his rhythm, his effort, and just try and hold these riders off. But they're literally only 20 seconds behind him. If he slows up at all, he will be caught. Russell Downing was supposed to be riding in South Carolina today, but he has endured the difficult conditions here in Britain instead. Macaulay now's attacked off the front of this group.
Yeah, Macaulay's attacked, and this man at the back has probably made a bit of a mistake in this race. Wilkinson now he's brought Macaulay up, and Macaulay's now attacking his you know, Dean Downing, his team leader. So you know, Macaulay could be snatching third away from the rest of these riders as he tries to come across to Clark in the front.
Gordon Macaulay, a fierce competitor. He does refuse to give in, and in fact, if he scores a few more points, he'll put himself in a fantastic position for the overall series. Russell Downing nearly at the finish in Richmond, up this really tough climb. Remember, 135 kilometres this race, extremely hard. Macaulay in a huge gear as he heads to the finish.
Yeah, I think he's struggling to come up on this last climb to Clark, so it looks as if Clark could be riding into second as Russell Downing comes across and takes the Richmond Grand Prix.
Russell Downing wins the Richmond Grand Prix, the 7th round of the British Premier calendar for the HealthNet Max's squad. A fantastic victory. Now it remains to be seen who gets the second and the third places. This man deserves second place today. David Clark, unsponsored rider, crosses the line in second place. Now Macaulay goes up towards the finish. He'll go up to this roundabout. He'll go round this right-hander, and he'll set himself up for the crowd, and he will take third place for the Ploughman Craven Evans Cycles racing team. Good ride by Macaulay today.
Certainly a good ride, and you know, he done that on his own, but you know, that's the difference of bringing Wilkinson, as he's in there for the sprint for fourth place with Rob Sharman and his team leader there, Dean Downing at the back.
Rob Sharman, a good sprinter. He's going to come in fourth. Richard Wilkinson in fifth. Dean Downing down in sixth today. So the confirmed result, Russell Downing wins ahead of Dave Clark and Gordon Macaulay in third.
It's a horrible day out there, just far too windy, and the wind and the rain just made it horrible, especially on the tops. It was so open, and we're doing turns, and guys were just like, it was just like, yeah, riding into a brick wall a lot of the time. As it turned right where the lap board was as we went down to the steep climb, I just sort of accelerated out of a corner, and that was it, and then took a few roundabouts, a bit risky, and I was away.
Neck and neck after 7 rounds, Chris Newton and Dean Downing equal on points in the British Premier calendar. Well, a tough race. Russell Downing wins the Richmond Grand Prix, a fantastic race. Join us next time for the Bowman Trophy in Northumberland.